We've just finished recording the most fantastic episode with Samantha Gilchrist, founder of the Gilchrist Collection. She's gone from wedding photographer to multi-million pound wedding venue owner, completing more than 2,000 weddings last year. And I could have literally chatted to Sam all day. Her story is completely fascinating. And I was blown away with her determination and decision to just jump in, take a leap of faith and launch her business. It was a great conversation. We hope you enjoy it, and you can listen here now. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us for this next episode of Talking Frankly with Founders and Investors. We're delighted to have you with us, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, can you tell us what your inspiration was behind launching the Gilchrist Collection?
Yes. So the Gilchrist Collection was an accident, and a happy accident, very happy accident. But I was a wedding photographer, and I think in the back of my mind, I thought maybe one day in my 60s or 70s, I might be rich enough to have a nice big house that I could do weddings in. But it never occurred to me that I would own a wedding venue. So I was helping a couple find a venue. And in the process of helping them find a venue, I then found out there was a venue for sale. And I just had that crazy what if moment. And I phoned one of my friends and was like, hey, how do you feel about coming in on this with me and getting a wedding venue? And luckily, he also doesn't think things through that well and was like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's go have a look at it. And so that is how, I mean, the story is much longer, but that's a very concise version of how we found our first wedding venue.
And when you went to look round, how did you kind of, from getting him on board, what was your next step in turning it into the business venture it is?
So I kind of didn't really tell Stuart the truth when he came to have a look at it, because we'd always had like a bit of a loose conversation. He was a serial entrepreneur and had a number of businesses. And we'd had a loose conversation in the past about maybe getting a business park. There's a lot of business parks in Sussex that have all these barns that have been converted. And I thought, well, during the week, Monday through Friday, he could have his businesses in the barns. And then there would be like another barn somewhere on site that I could turn into a wedding venue. And maybe on Saturday and Sunday, we could have nice weddings in the barn. It was never a serious conversation, but it was kind of like a loose, put it out in the universe.
Yeah.
So when I said to him, I think I found our wedding venue, that was what he was thinking of. So when we drove down the drive, he's got, quite a good Scottish accent. And he was like, Sam, this isn't a barn. And it was quite a funny moment because it's a 14th century building and it's definitely nothing like a barn. And I was like, I know, right? Isn't it great? And he was like, this is not quite what I was thinking. So that was the sort of initial, we got a tour with Steve MacArthur, the owner, and we were very honest with him. We were like, we're never going to get a mortgage on this. We don't have the money to front it. We could probably put, I forget what it's called, but a charge. You could put a charge on Stuart's other businesses and try and blag a mortgage, but we can't come up with the deposit. So basically, we'd love to get it. We'd love to run it. We'd love to restore it because they were going to turn it into flats. And we were like, we'd love to restore it back to being a venue. He had it as a venue for like 30 or 40 years. So we're like, we'll restore it, but you need to basically give us a deposit.
Yeah.
And you need to lend it to us we had nothing to lose. Like there was no way we were going to get it. So we had nothing to lose. So we were just cheeky. And we were like, if you lend us the deposit, we'll take it over. And we said what we would do is we would lease it from him. We actually gave him £150,000 in cash as a non-refundable deposit. Amazing. And he gave us the keys, and we told him we would give him 10 grand a month to rent it while we figured out how to get a mortgage. And this was all without lawyers, without paper. Don't recommend.
It's amazing though, when the power of just asking.
Just asking.
Having that confidence to just put yourself out there and see what you can do.
And what was so amazing was that that's how he had started. So when he'd found the venue, he'd sort of begged, stealed and borrowed from all of his families and friends to get his foot on the ladder with the venue. So that's sort of what he saw that we were doing.
Yeah.
And I think he really liked that. And in his mind, he's got nothing to lose. If we took it over for 6 months, and messed it up and gave him the keys back, he made £150,000.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh, win-win here.
Yeah.
I mean, bless him, he came and checked on the venue pretty much every 2 days.
To check that it still looks as he'd left it. And tell me, kind of, you know, from the moment you got the keys, what then was the biggest challenge that you faced in order to get the business going?
So I think there was 2 challenges. The first was educating Stuart, because in his mind, he was like, oh, we could have a restaurant, because there was a part of the building that could be separated off as a restaurant. So he was like, we could have a restaurant and get in a really great chef. And then on Tuesday nights, we'll have comedy nights. And I was like, no, you don't understand. This is a 7-day-a-week wedding venue. And he was like, people don't get married 7 days a week. I was like, I promise you, they get married 7 days a week. So I took him to an open day at a wedding venue, probably about 2 hours away from us, which I knew did over 300 weddings a year.
Right.
And we went sort of quite late in the afternoon, and I, you know, said to him, watch this. And I walked up to the coordinator and I said, you know, oh, I'm looking to get married on a Saturday, maybe next year. And she laughed in my face, and she got out these pieces of paper that had yellow dots on them. They were a year calendar with yellow dots on every day that was a booked wedding. And it was 2017. And she said, well, if you want to get married on a Saturday, I've got 2019 and I've got November and January. I've got 4 left. And if you want them, you need to put down a deposit now, because by the end of the day, they're going to be gone. And Stuart just saw money. And I was like, okay, good.
It's mad, isn't it? The wedding industry and how it kind of gets booked in back to back.
Yeah. So that was the first challenge hurdle over. He then recognized and understood the scale of which I was trying to communicate. No, look, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And then the second challenge was obviously filling the calendar, because we took on a wedding venue where there was nothing. He had cancelled everything. So there was nothing booked in at all. So I got really clever. I contacted, obviously, all of my clients from the photography industry. When I'd been working as a photographer, I contacted all suppliers that I knew. I contacted someone who, you know, when we were starting to take over the venue and having the discussions about 3 weeks before we took over, I contacted someone called Helen that runs a company called Empirical Events, and that does wedding fairs. And I said, okay, confidentially, if we take over this, do you have any dates? So before we even got the keys, I had booked in a wedding fair, and we had over 100 people come to that wedding fair, which was phenomenal. And then I was just crafty. Like, I contacted all the local hairdressers and was like, does anyone have a birthday coming up or any kind of celebration? Yeah. And one of them was like, oh yeah, I have a 30th birthday. I was like, great, we'll give you the venue for free. Just bring all your friends, because, you know, hairdressers know everybody. And that was kind of my basis behind it.
And just get the word out there that this is open.
And that's literally what I did. Like, anything I could put in for free, where we made some money on the bar and got the word out. You name it, we did it. Open air cinema, afternoon teas. Obviously, those were charged for. But just any kind of event or gimmicky thing. We did do a Christmas fair, which was a complete disaster, because we were expecting about 500 people. And I think 1,900 people turned up, and they just abandoned their cars in the roads, and we had all the neighbors like knocking on the door. So, you know, it was to some degree a great success, and to some degree like never again.
You'd really got the word out by that point.
Yeah, it's amazing saying that, you know, you can visit Santa Claus. It's amazing what visiting Santa Claus does.
And so, you know, what I'm hearing here is real entrepreneurial spirit, that, you know, you're kind of hustling, you're really marketing the venue, and you're trying to get it off the ground. How have you managed to keep that going now the business has scaled to the size it is today? How have you kept that kind of entrepreneurial flair in what you're doing?
I think it comes with being able to keep things off of your plate. So we have a very strong conversation that we'll have with our staff in the sense of, you know, I hold the CEO role, which means that I need to be thinking of the big think. I need to be thinking of the next ideas, the next plans, the next renovations. You know, I need to be evaluating the stats and deciding, okay, good, we got this many inquiries and it got us this many tours. How do we close that gap? And I need my mind clear to be able to work on that. So we kind of explain it to our staff, like, I have the big think and I need to have enough space to be able to do the big think, which means that my executives underneath me, they're like the minds. So if I turn around and say, oh, I want to have it so that, you know, every couple that comes through the door fills out this survey, and then that survey is used for marketing, so we know what exactly it was about the venue that attracted them. The minds are then the ones that go, okay, good. So how are we going to do this? Are we going to do this on, you know, an iPad, or are we going to get paper? Are we going to get into the venue? How are we going to get it back? And da, 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 da. And then the, you know, bodies, or however you want to describe it, are the people that are then going, good, let me take this piece of paper, give it to the couple, have them fill it out, and then I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to send it to the head office. So it's kind of that spirit, mind, body example. And as soon as I find myself being a body or a mind, I no longer have the space to think. And that really is something that I've taken on board so much, because it's so easy to suddenly, within one conversation, I'm all the way down in the venue discussing, you know, how we handle that couple that maybe have gotten upset about something or whatever. Whereas actually it's like, no, that's not my job. That's someone else's job that needs to be overseen by that person, and that person is overseen by that person. And if it does come to me, then I need to go back and correct the staff. Like my job is to mentor and train my staff so that they can mentor and train their staff. And it kicks down. As soon as I'm like, oh, I have to go into the venue and I have to tour that couple, the whole thing is finished.
And it starts to become unscalable as well.
Completely unscalable. Because we did 2,000 weddings, over 2,000 weddings last year. I cannot be at every wedding. Sometimes I have people stop me and they're like, oh, my friend's getting married at your venue. They're called, you know, Bill and Kate. Do you know them? And I'm like, oh yeah, totally recognize that name. Like, who's Bill and Kate? It really is about building your team.
Yeah. And you've gone from one venue to multiple venues. So at what point from launching the first venue did you think, right, I'm ready to take on another
that was not
space?
me. So I was never ready to take on another one. Stuart is very much like one man, one van, makes £1,000, get 10 men with 10 vans, make £10,000. I would have gotten the Ravenswood and lived happily ever after running the Ravenswood. It would just never occur to me that you should get more than one wedding venue. So Stuart was fantastic because he really helped me to get that concept of, you know, training other people underneath you and then having them do the job and stepping back, watching them do the job and then correcting them. So he, without me really realizing what he was doing, he sort of mentored me through that. You know, because when I arrived in the business, I was like, I can run a wedding all day long. You know, I can probably figure out the marketing because I've been marketing my own business. And, you know, that's as far as I go when it comes to the finances or the buildings or the legals. You know, I wasn't even willing to look at it at the time. I was just like, that was something someone over there did. So that was kind of what he mentored me through, was learning all of the other things that I could then start to take that on board. But I actually don't have kids, but I can only liken it to what my friends say about going from one child to two, which is just a complete confusion in your whole wide world. But then adding 3, 4, 5, and 6 is like, whatever, just keep adding them. It's fine. And that for me was going from one venue to two. It was such an adjustment from being in the venue to then suddenly being out of the venues and allowing someone else to run the venues. And believing that someone else could run the venue better than me. And that was, for me, such a hard mindset shift because I, at the time, was a worker, or what I call a body, or however you want to describe it. Like, I was a hands-on person. Like, I was not, you know, I could maybe move up to being mind in terms of like managing and running a few different people. But, you know, I was a worker.
You wanted to get stuck in.
Yeah, I wanted to get stuck in. I wanted to meet the couples. I wanted to run the day. I wanted to make sure the food service came out properly. Like, that was me. I was super hands-on. I've always been super hands-on. So then to step 3 paces back and allow a wedding planner, a sales coordinator, and a general manager run the venues and know that the couples are going to be happy, Oh, horrendous.
And have you found, with the business being called Your Name, have you had a kind of concept there that your
So it's really interesting because it didn't
your name's above the door?
start being my name.
Okay.
So we didn't name it after my name until probably the 5th or 6th venue.
Okay.
So initially we just had the venues individually named. We did have a previous concept of, we could call it this group, and we kind of had an idea of why we wanted to call it that group. And I quite liked the name, but Stuart, my business partner, didn't love it. And then he kind of gave me the reasons why he didn't love it. And I was like, okay, fine. And then me and Stuart went back and forth probably for about 3 months on what we were going to call the group. And at the time, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to anyway. I had gotten married to my husband 4 years before, I think, 3 or 4 years before. And I'd not changed my name. And I probably wasn't going to change my name. And my maiden name is Wordy. And my husband's name is Gilchrist. And I feel like because I had built my photography business as, Wordy Photography.
Yeah.
My full identity was with my maiden name. I got married quite, into my 30s. So I was quite attached to my name. And, it's not that I didn't like Karen's last name, but I didn't have any great rush to change my name. And I kind of had mulled it over, and I talked to him about it and was like, would you be offended if I didn't become a Gilchrist? And he was like, no, like, I don't care, whatever you want. Yeah. And I kind of thought in the back of my mind, if we ever had kids, then maybe I'll change my name. But until that point, I don't know, it's a bit of a probably that deep wanting to be a feminist, keeping my name type thing. So one of the names that had come up in the conversation was Gilchrist and the Gilchrist group. And I was a bit like, it does sound good, but no. And, I was sort of calling myself Samantha Gilchrist. I just not legally changed anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I got outvoted. Stuart basically walked into the office one day and he was like, I think the Gilchrist Collection is a really great name. And Sam's still sitting on the fence. What do you think? And the girls were like, yep, we think it's a great name. And then the next day, my very efficient PA changed my name on every bank account, passport, everything.
Oh my God. It was decided for you.
And it was done. So, but I think honestly, looking back at that, I guess it was when people sort of, I can't find my words, but you have that confidence. I was having confidence issues with it.
Yeah.
And I think it was the final kick I needed from Stuart. And Stuart was like, no, this is your baby. You are the face of the company and you are running the company and you have grown into now running all of the venues. It's me that has all the visions. It was me that has, I will go to him with problems and he'll be like, have you looked at doing it this way or whatever? But in terms of how I want the delivery, how I want the marketing, it is all of my mindset on it.
Yeah.
And so he was like, no, this is correct. This is what we should do, and this is the right thing to do. And it does sound fancy.
Yeah.
It's okay, fine.
I had a similar thing calling Frankie's Frankie. I went through so many names of different companies and groups of clubs and it just didn't sit right. And then I thought, well, actually, it's your idea. It's your vision. Yeah. And it kind of gives it that personableness, which is brilliant because people can connect with it.
Yeah.
So how many venues have you got to now in this journey? 12 venues.
Yeah. So we have 9 in the UK and 3 in the US.
And how did you find that expansion into the US?
Actually, a lot easier than I think people would think I would have found that. I feel like by that point I had found my stride. And also the US is a much simpler mix than the UK. In the UK, we do all of the food, all the catering, all of the wine on table, all the bars, everything like that. We also have all the housekeeping in-house, all the chefs. It's a much bigger machine.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, it's still very normal to have a kind of you just rent out the venue. We call it dry hire here.
Yeah.
So it's very normal over there to just do dry hire. So a wedding venue over there that does the same amount of weddings as one of the wedding venues over here. Over there, it may have 8 or 9 staff, whereas over here, I have almost 60. So that was kind of the thing that made it okay for me to move to the US was, you know, all I need is someone to unlock the door with a key. Okay, well, if anything goes wrong, the next door neighbor can unlock the door with a key. You know, I won't be getting phone calls in the middle of the night saying the chef didn't turn up or, you know, because not only is it far away, it's also a different time zone. Like, ironically, I can actually get to my Florida venue in a similar amount of time that I can get to my Carlisle venue. But my Carlisle venue I can drive to at any point that I wish. You know, whereas the Florida venue, I have to take a flight. And so that was really the stipulation for me was, yes, I would be interested in getting a venue in the US. But there's no way we're bringing anything in-house until we had like a whole setup out there.
And do you, what would you say your proudest achievement to date is from the businesses?
I find that a really hard question, and it should be really easy to answer. But I find it hard because I feel like there's quite a lot of aspects to it. Like, I think one of my proudest achievements selfishly would be how much I have grown and how much I have been able to change, and how much I have been able to, you know, take things in my stride. Like, someone will come with a problem and I'm like, oh, okay, here's the solution. Let's solve it. You know, whereas maybe 7 years ago when we first started, that same problem would have put me on the floor in floods of tears and put me into bed with Netflix and ice cream for 3 days. So I feel like on a personal growth level, that's been huge. But then I feel like, you know, one of the proudest things for me as well is watching some of my staff grow and blossom. And I've had a number of staff that have started with me and have grown into much bigger roles or have massively increased their confidence. And whereas, you know, they wouldn't have even stood up at staff meeting and told everyone how their week was, now they're standing in front of 100 people, you know, telling them about how the year has gone. So I feel like those are amazing things. But then also as well, my favorite thing is just seeing, you know, we have WhatsApp groups from every venue. So every day that there's a wedding, someone takes some pictures behind the scenes and then sends them through. So, you know, seeing that volume, particularly across the summer, it's like every day
you're getting different photos coming through.
You're almost getting somewhere between 10 or 12 venues worth of pictures of people having incredible weddings. And then also seeing the 5-star reviews come in afterwards and being like, wow, you know,
your vision's become a real thing.
Because for me, it's really a case of, yes, I do a lot of weddings, but I want each couple to feel like they are the only couple that ever got married at that venue. And that for me is really my, you know, that's really what I want as a product. It's like, okay, it's great. We're doing this. We'll take this income. We're making this profit. Like, fine. But ultimately, it's the couple feeling like they've had exactly what they wanted. You know, we say the best day of their lives, but I hope they go on to have obviously much better days as well. But, you know, up until that point, we want that to have been the best day of their life.
And often I speak to lots of founders or people who are kind of on the fence, want to start their own businesses. And I think being an entrepreneur is quite a kind of cool thing at the moment. Would you say it's, and that was the most uncool thing I've ever said. Would you say that being an entrepreneur and running your own thing is for everyone? Do you think everyone can do it?
No, 100% not everyone can do it. I think I absolutely have a screw missing. That screw missing that I have is I can't. It never occurred to me when we took the keys to Ravenswood that we would mess it up. Like, I often have people ask me how I sleep at night. I'm like, I sleep 8 hours like a baby. Like, I don't ever remember being kept up awake thinking about something. It's just, I don't know. I'm just like, oh, okay, that didn't work out. All right, let's pivot. How can we make it work? And, you know, I'm very much that type of person where, something comes in and it's like, okay, good, just use that momentum to turn it around and win in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously weathered COVID. We, you know, I had all my venues shut for 18 months. That was a whole thing. And I don't think at any point during that whole time did it occur to me that this could be it and we could lose everything. I was just like, oh, we could change it so we can do weddings for 6 and now we can do them for 30. And this whole time, the whole time we were closed for COVID, within about a week, I was like, well, we'll just do tours online and we'll sell the venue online. And when the doors open, you know, we'll bring everyone in and they can pay the second half of their deposit when they love it in person. So I still had a lot of money coming in through COVID. And it was about 6 or 7 months into COVID that suddenly all the venues around had clocked what we were doing and started doing it too.
Yeah.
But that was a good 6 or 7 months that they would have just been closed.
Yeah.
With nothing.
Yeah.
So I think there is a part of it where it's like you have to have a nerve of steel.
Yeah.
I think you almost have to be a little bit flippant. Like I can be very flippant on things. Like I will have someone call me and tell me, you know, we've just had a couple, I don't know how they managed it, but they managed to break the entire top of the 4-poster bed off. Obviously had an amazing night. And of course the manager phoned me, completely freaked out. We've got another couple coming in tonight. Like, what do I do? I'm going to charge them. I'm so upset. Like, da. And I literally just laughed. And I was like, it's actually probably the funniest thing I've heard for ages. And then it was like, all right, we'll just get the maintenance man in. Let's just cut it all off at the same level. Let's take the top parts of the bed. Let's glue them on. Now we've got a spike bed. Looks amazing. Yeah. Nobody's going to know. Get on eBay, find another 4-poster bed.
Yeah.
So
it's being quite practical and...
Yeah, so I feel like it's that. But the other thing, honestly, that I think people really miss when it comes to entrepreneurship is how hard you work. Yeah. I honestly work 7 days a week. And I work from when I wake up till when I go to bed. Now, that can also include going to the hairdressers and having my hair and nails done because I have to go away to an event. Or that can include going shopping because I need to find a ball dress for an awards dinner. Like, it's still work.
But I think it's also what's in the mind.
Yeah.
Because the thing I've found from running it is it never switches off. And the kind of, you know, like... getting ready for annual leave, or I actually find going on holiday is when I get the most of my inspiration and it makes me want to work more.
100%.
But it's that kind of is a real mindset shift between almost being employed and running your own thing, because running your own thing every day is just you're focused on
you don't
the
switch
next thing.
Off.
Yeah.
I mean, I can smash a box set on Netflix like anyone. I call it a box set series. Yeah. I'm old school. You know, but I will sometimes some of my friends are like, how do you even find the time to do it? It's like, well, I put headphones on. I get, you know, a little tripod stand. I stick my phone on it or my iPad, put the series on, and then I clean my house. And so I'm kind of listening to it, half watching it whilst I'm doing that. Yeah. But then at the same time, like you said, you always find inspiration in everything. It's like I've been watching Yellowstone, and obviously I have a venue in Texas. So then I'm like looking at all the interiors and looking at this ranch, and I'm like, oh, we could do, you know, this in the, we've sort of created a groom's room, and I'm like, oh, we could have that kind of style in the groom's room. And wouldn't it be amazing if we had horses in the background of the, you know, and it's a constant, you constantly have an attention. Yeah. On the business and on expansion. We went and stayed in a hotel recently, and I think I probably took more photos of the fire extinguishers at the hotel. And then also at your event, they had the same. The fire extinguishers are now coming out in like gold and silver and bronze. And I just think this is the most exciting thing ever, because obviously we have these big, ugly red fire extinguishers all around our venues. Yeah. And we've got this beautiful white cream room with red fire extinguishers. And it's like, these people have silver fire extinguishers. Yeah, how can we find them? How do we get those? And I literally think that, you know, coming back from that hotel, and then I saw them again at the place we went to with you, I went back to interiors and I was like, look, there's another set. They are around, find them. Yeah, and then I took pictures of the mermaids and, you know, again, took it back to interiors and was like, look, aren't these amazing sculptures? Aren't they so great? You just don't switch off. I do think that... there is a sort of glamour that's put around entrepreneurship at the moment. I don't know if you see that and feel that. Yeah. And I think it's a real on Instagram and on TikTok, you know, it's like, oh, look at my great life. I get to walk around with my
And my
expensive
balance.
handbag and my balance. And,
Yeah.
you know, being an entrepreneur is so great because, and yes, probably after 10 years of a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does maybe look like that. But
yeah,
you cannot forget the 10 years that went into it first.
yeah, and I think it's good to say that it's not for everyone.
It's not for, but
you
it's
know,
okay to not be
it's
for
okay
everyone.
for it to not be for everyone. And I think we've got into a space where people feel like it has to be for them.
No, but I think
and
also,
I think that's, you know, it's for some people and it's not for other people, and everyone's on a different journey. In terms of, you know, you've mentioned Stuart quite a few times, your main investor. Where have you gone through other funding rounds? Have you found have you had other investment beyond him?
Yes.
And what advice would you give to anybody who is out there looking for fundraising at the moment?
So I think the best advice would be, I mean, we've had investment all over the show. We've had investment from friends.
Yeah.
You know, we've offered them 10% on their investment. So we've had investment from friends. We normally say, well, you know, we'll take the amount for this amount of time. And then we'll either give it back to you or you can leave it with us. We pay them a monthly 10% interest on it. We've done all sorts of weird and wonderful things. We've been to like Funding Circle. We've been to, you know, bridging finance in order to, because a lot of the time when we take over these venues, there's no profit because we take over venues that are really struggling. So you take them to a normal mortgage and they're like, you know, that's not interesting to us.
Yeah.
Or the mortgage can't move fast enough. So then we'll look to a bridging finance company and take out a 1-year bridging finance loan, at which point we will then remortgage later on down the line. Or we will find people that want to invest and do it that way. But honestly, I think the most important thing in all of those scenarios is your pitch deck. Yeah. And it's having together, you know, proper finances, having it in order. That's a lesson we've learned the hard way at least twice, where, you know, we've pitched something to someone, they've been super interested, and then they've come back with all this technical jargon of what they want to see and the, you know, finance side of things. And I've just been like, oh, okay. And then, you know, we go back to the finance team and it takes us weeks to put it together.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you should have had that on hand straight away.
Yeah.
So then it was making sure that we got into the habit of doing, you know, a weekly cash report, a monthly P&L, you know, across everything, having a look at all the things. And obviously I've had to educate myself on what all of these things mean as well, and being able to read them and recognizing as well that sometimes it might say, oh, look, this is all your profit and you should have this amount in the bank account, but actually you spent that on renovations and dividends and different things like that. So there is nothing in the bank account, even though the paperwork says that there is something.
Yeah.
So yeah, just figuring all of those things out. But having your ask clearly defined and then having your future projections worked out. No one knows how something is going to turn out, but I think that's what gives people confidence, having it well presented and actually educating yourself on how to pitch it.
And when you got, you know, as you've gone through your various rounds, you've spoken a lot about your team and how important they are to you. What advice would you give to anybody who's looking to build out their team as at the beginning of their journey? And what were the first hires that you made that really made the difference?
So I think one of the most important things is to be humble enough to know that you need to hire someone better than you. And not to be arrogant enough to think that you are the best, because you're not. Yeah. My first learning of that was I would tour around the venue and I was probably closing about 3 weddings a week, which is a lot. Yeah. And I thought I was amazing. And obviously no one could sell the venue with as much passion as I could because it's my venue. So obviously I know all the, you know, I'd take them on a tour of the garden. Like I'd spend like an hour and a half with them. Like it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I hired a girl called Hannah, who is still with me today. And she cut the tours down to 30 minutes and started selling 6 weddings a week. And I was like, I don't know what just happened. You know, it was a big shock to me. She was like, I'm not walking around the garden. If they want to walk around the garden, they can walk around the garden themselves. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was my first sort of reality adjustment on hiring someone better than you. Because whilst I was trying to do the tours, run the wedding, to hold the events, look after everything in the evening and everything, she was just dedicated
to doing that.
Yeah. So that was my first thing. The second thing is I am a firm believer in if someone is not contributing to the motion, you don't keep them.
Yeah.
You know, I have an analogy. It's something I found on YouTube, and it's about a cart being pushed up the hill. And, you know, it's a video, and it's a very visual video of someone pushing a cart up the hill. And, well, the first person's like pulling it at the front, and then they add the second person that's like pushing it from the side. And then they start to add the people that are like sitting on the top. And when the person at the front sort of looks around, they're like, oh yeah, like I'm really pushing the cart up the hill. But actually when the person turns their head again, they're like, you know, off on their own TikTok or Instagram, or obviously, you know, the video is a better analogy, but it sort of shows this cart really struggling to get up the hill.
Yeah.
And then it shows another cart running past it where everybody is dedicated on the same journey, running really hard to push this cart up the hill.
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes into like, okay, get rid of the people that are sitting on the top, the ones that are on the side, not really going with the momentum, like get it gone, so that everybody in your team is focused on pushing the cart up the hill.
Great analogy.
It's a great analogy. And I feel like it's really helped my staff understand what I want their working environment to be.
Yeah.
Like we played it at our last summit. And I think it really gives the staff an ability to then communicate when they start to see someone not pushing the cart up the hill. It gives them the verbs and the ability to say, rather than being a snitch in their mind and they feel like they're snitching on someone or something, they literally can just say, this person's not helping us push the cart up the hill. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, good. Now let's have a look. Like, does that person need more training? Do they need more help? Or they really just not
the right person? Yeah. And, you know, we spoke a moment ago about you expanding into the US. What advice would you give to anybody who is taking their business abroad?
Get a good lawyer and a good accountant.
Good advice.
Had to make some interesting adjustments on going into the US because as part of that, we did get a US investor. Yeah. I don't work in the US. I don't pretend to work in the US.
Yeah.
My business partner did get a visa. He did move to the US. And so from that aspect, you know, there is a definite setup in being in the US. You know, legally getting into the US and working in the US is a whole thing.
Yeah.
On the visa and waivers that I have, I can go in and I can hold meetings. That's all I can do in the US. I don't draw funds out of the US currently as it is. So I think it's really understanding, you know, where you're at in your journey and what you need. There is going to be a point where I am going to have to change my visa, you know, in order to then
continue to practice
over there. To be honest, in the beginning, we're still a little bit like, you know, we have 3 venues out there. One of them's doing exceptionally. The other 2 are growing.
Yeah.
So it was we're still testing the ground. Like, how far do we want to be in the US? But I do think absolutely having a lawyer and accountant that can help you remain completely legal and above board, because that's just not something you want to be messing with.
Yeah. And you've spoken about kind of, you know, the downtime of watching Yellowstone and different things, but is there any kind of habit or routine? Obviously, you know, we've both touched on how kind of intense it is running the business. Is there anything that you do in your daily routine that kind of helps you to cope with the pressures that you're under? Yeah,
so there's a few things that I've done. So, and probably these will be a bit left field for you, but the first thing I did was I actually had my colours done professionally.
Okay.
And I went to a company called Red Leopard in London. Cannot recommend them enough. They are like 2 of the most lovely people ever. I've probably sent about 10 people to them. Someone introduced me to it. And that was the first thing that was really important to me, because I would get literally crippled looking at my wardrobe, trying to figure out what to wear. Yeah. And I didn't understand how people could look put together. And for me, I'd gone from being a wedding photographer that would just spend, you know, the wedding days head to toe in black and the rest of my time in leggings and a jumper. because I would be editing all day.
Yeah.
To then suddenly having staff and having people stick cameras in my face and being like, let's do social media. And I was like, I just don't know how to navigate this.
Yeah.
You know, I hold curves. And so also on top of that, then it's like trying to look put together and trying to balance for my figure and
Yeah.
make everything look like it was effortless or however it was that I wanted it to be. You know, I would look at other people and be like, well, they look like they turned up to the office correctly. Like it got to a point where it was a joke in my office that men in suit work for women in pajamas, because I literally would come to work looking like I was wearing my pajamas. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So
Yeah.
that was the first thing I did, was have my colors done. That was an absolute game changer for me, because now I know whenever I buy anything, it's in this color palette. So every pair of shoes, my socks, my, you know, jeans, my tops, everything matches.
Yeah.
They also told me at the time that my hair was the wrong color, because I had very sort of blonde hair, but it wasn't a warm blonde. It was a very cool blonde. And they were like, you either need to warm it up or you need to change it. So that's how we ended up a redhead. So that was fascinating. They also re-educated me on my makeup, changed out all my lipsticks. It was amazing how wrong I was doing it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, once you have the rules, you can still break them. I still wear black occasionally. I still do different things, but I am genuinely much more comfortable in the outfits that are in that color brand. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, I don't know if you remember, it was like probably years ago, there was this whole, everybody jumped on the bandwagon of KonMari and Marie Kondo. And it's like this lady, Marie Kondo, I think is the name. And then the process
Sorting
is
your
KonMari. Yeah, decluttering your life.
Yeah.
That was something that, again, was a big game changer for me. And it was like getting everything out of my house that I had stuff. We'd moved from house to house to house. We'd just not really decluttered it properly. I thought I had decluttered it, but, you know, I also had collected things. And because I travel so much, I was ending up traveling with all this stuff. And it was like, okay, well, I'm traveling with like 10 different skin products, but how many do I actually, and it was like, well, just in case, or, you know, 3 different foundations, because I hadn't settled on one that I loved.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, I'd end up traveling with so many suitcases, because I was like, couldn't possibly leave this behind. But actually, again, like half the clothes I would take with me were like just in case, but I didn't actually wear them.
Yeah, yeah.
So getting everything gone, you know, then it's now very simple. It's like I open my wardrobe and it's like I only have things in there that I actually love. And now when I shop, I really think about things before I shop. Or if I do buy a new mascara, when I go home, I remove the old mascara. I think I probably had about 10 mascaras that were all out of date and, you know, just clutter. And I feel like by decluttering the physical universe, it helps declutter your mind.
Yeah.
It's like now my dressing room area is very calm. It's very simple. It's not got stuff everywhere. Like it often looked like a bomb had gone off. So it's very simple to tidy as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are 2 things that I did. Obviously, I also, you know, try to take walks. I have a dog.
Yeah.
You know, I listen to podcasts while I walk. I I'm always trying to follow other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I'm still growing. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Amazing. And you've spoken before about how influential your mum's been in your life.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about her and why she's such an inspiration to you?
Yes. Actually was fortunate enough to have had 3 mums in my life, because I have my biological mum who is, you know, is the most amazing still, in the sense of what you're referring to is basically how I grew up. And I grew up in this just complete, everything was magical. You know, I often refer back to a birthday party I had where she'd made me a crepe paper fairy dress, and she'd made 2 of my friends matching ones. And, you know, like the sort of bow that you put on a present, like I had all these bows all over it, and I had a big tinsel headband and a wand. And, you know, it just, to me, I think it was like my 5th or 6th birthday, and it was like the most amazing. And she'd written happy birthday on the wall, which I thought was like so naughty, but so fun. You know, and years later, the story comes out of like, it was a council house. We'd just moved in. There was mold everywhere. She'd had to strip all the wallpaper off the walls to try to get rid of the mold. And that was why she was able to paint happy birthday on the wall, because, you know, she was then going to have to paint over it. She did it all herself. And you know, I had this incredible dressing up box. I used to get all my clothes from jumble sales, and every weekend we'd go to jumble sales to, you know, and to me it was like, well, everybody goes to jumble sales. Of course you go to jumble sales, and that's where you get like the princess dresses from. And, you know, I just constantly had like this very magical childhood. And, you know, in my teens, she helped me get into a performing arts school. And again, you know, like she managed to figure out how to get my train fares and get me into the school. But that's where I said I'm lucky I have three, because my stepmom and my dad, my stepmom's been my stepmom since I was about 9, you know, they pulled together to help me get the train fares. Again, like obviously as a kid, you don't know anything about this. I'm just like, cool, I got into this great school. I'm going to Brit school, amazing. You know, not recognizing how much my parents had to go through in the background. I mean, these train fares were expensive.
Yeah.
And then later, my mother-in-law, who sadly is no longer with us, but again, just a very, you know, just 3 very strong, powerful women.
Yeah.
That all, you know, Russian, German, and, you know, well, 2 Germans, 1 Russian, very strong women.
Yeah.
Yeah, just big influences in my life.
Amazing. And you touched on just then that you like following other entrepreneurs and podcasts, etc. Can you tell us kind of something that you're listening to at the moment that you think's been really helpful?
I am currently obsessing over Natalie Dawson. She's the COO of the 10X brand. And I just think that there's Cody Sanchez. There's a few different ones that I listen to. I did just start listening to the Secret Diaries of CEO with Stephen Bartlett. I don't know, like I like to go, you know, touch on different ones. I listened to Rebecca Minkoff, her book Fearless not too long ago. I find I take interesting things from each of them. Natalie Dawson, the thing I really like about her at the moment is she really is about building the team.
Yeah.
And she's really about caring for her staff. And I feel like that's given me a lot of different mindsets and viewpoints on, oh, actually, okay, you know, we could implement this with the staff and this with the team, and, you know, really working out how to make sure that they are fulfilled in their goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that as an entrepreneur and a CEO, you can really miss is you have your goal and your vision, but like, what are their goals?
Yeah.
You know, and that could be as much as I want to run a 5K, or, you know, I want to learn how to bake. It might be nothing to do with your business, but how can you support them
and empower them to do it?
And empower them to do that as well, you know?
Yeah. Perfect. I could literally chat to you
all
afternoon.
And I'm conscious of the fact that I can talk for England.
But thank you so much, and congratulations on everything that you've done today. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.